I'm Kaylin. I'm on the marketing team here at Kong. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our very first virtual demo. We're so excited to have you all here, and thank you so much to the team at Pet Supplies Plus for having us. We're really excited to do this with you. As a thank you for joining us today, all of you on here now will receive a free trial subscription, a 1-month trial subscription to Dog TV, which is a great way to entertain your dog while you are gone. And then you'll also get a special Kong coupon offer in your email. And also today only Pet Supplies Plus is doing 20% off of all Kong treats on their website, which we will share a link to that later on in the presentation as well. And then throughout the presentation today, we are going to have a few poll and quiz questions, and 5 winners from each quiz question will receive a customized Kong prize pack as well as a $50 Pet Supplies Plus gift card. So got some fun prizes if you stick around. We will also have a question and answer session. It's live right now. You can answer questions. Tatiana from the Kong team will be on there answering live, and then we'll also do a Q&A back and forth session at the end of the webinar. So stick around for that. And now our trainers are going to introduce themselves, and yeah, go right ahead.
All right, hello and welcome. I have been Kong's lead training and behavior specialist for going on 19 years. And in that time, I've had the good fortune to travel the world working with some of the finest dog training organizations, dog trainers, behaviorists, shelters, service dogs, and my favorite are the men and women that work with dogs in military and law enforcement, of which I've been a long-time instructor at K9 events. Again, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Anna?
Yes, my name is Ana Verissimo. I am a certified professional dog trainer. I have been a member of the Association of Professional Dog Trainers since 2009. I started my career working with shelter dogs and helping pet parents with behavior issues with their pet. I have been with Kong since 2012, and I'm currently on a certification program for separation anxiety, and very happy to be here to cover this topic with you today.
Awesome, thank you. So just wanted to share a little bit about why we chose the topic of separation anxiety. It has a lot to do with COVID and the pandemic and the way that things have changed since that all began. We found some statistics that were pretty telling. We found that 53% of dog owners overall and 60% of hybrid workers, meaning that they work part-time in the office and part-time in the home, believe that their dog has some form of separation anxiety. We also found that 60% of dog owners spend 6 to 15 more hours of quality time with their dog per week because of being home due to COVID-19. And we also found that 61% of dog owners say their dog exhibits noticeable signs of distress when they're preparing to leave the house since COVID-19 began. So we felt like this was a really relevant topic. We figured that probably a lot of pet parents out there are struggling with this, and just wanted to do this seminar to hopefully help you out, get some tips for helping your dog relax when you are gone. And now Anna is going to define separation anxiety for us.
Thank you, Kaylin. So separation anxiety is the feeling of fear, frustration, and even distress that some dogs feel when they're left alone. So dogs are social beings. They want to be with their family. They want to be with their people. So once you leave the house, they don't know if you're coming back. We cannot explain to them that we have a job, that we work from 9 to 5, we're going to leave on time, but there may be traffic, it rain, snow. They just don't know. When you leave the house, they think you're never going to come back again. Moreover, they don't understand, why can they go with you, right? And if you think your dog is suffering from separation anxiety, you're not alone. Census shows that we have over 80 million dogs in their homes in the United States, and research has shown that around 30% of dogs suffer from some separation-related problems. So we have around 20 million dogs that are afflicted with this issue. And although we don't have any specific reason why some dogs develop separation anxiety, it has been related to some adverse situations. So change of caregiver, a loss of a pet parent or a member of the family, or even for another dog can generate anxiety in dogs. Shelter dogs that have been relinquished or abandoned might be more sensitive to separation. Change routine is a big one. Routine is very important for dogs. That's what gives them a sense of control of their lives. Especially now that we are going back to work, they might start feeling a little bit anxious. With the dogs that were adopted during the pandemics, that used to have you there all the time, and even the dogs that you had before that were used to have you there more often, now they're going to have to adapt to this new routine, and this change can cause them to feel anxiety when left alone. A change of family member can be a baby addition to the house. It can be another dog or even a puppy. Can make some dogs feel insecure because they now have to share with everyone else. So they wanted to have more and more of you, and that makes them feel anxious when they're left behind. Um, Change of residence is a big one. We cannot explain the dog the reason we are moving, where we are going. They just have to follow us. And adapting to a new home, is difficult for us. Takes time for them as well. It's a new house, new smells. Some good, some not so good. They lose the sense of location. So all of these feelings can bring them insecurity. So they want to be close to what is more stable for them, which is you. And once they're left alone, some dogs just can't handle, they feel anxious or even distressed. Some possible signs of separation anxiety are distraction. So chewing furniture is fun. Dogs can do that just to have fun, but also can be a way of them relieving stress. So if your dog is chewing up furniture, it can be a sign of separation anxiety. So, however, if you have a dog and you're taking a dog for a walk, you play a game of fetch, you have interactive feeding before you go to work, and then when you come back, there's no distraction in the house, that means that the dog was just bored and look for something to do. However, if your dog does have a rich routine, and when you come back, the dog has chewing things around your house, it can be a sign of distress. Digging, barking, howling can also be a sign of stress, and also it usually happens on the exit way, on the door that you leave in the house. They are trying to dig in the ground or chew, on the door, chew the frame of the door because they want to get to you. Pace is another sign. Some dogs can go and just pace around, and that can happen right before you leave, and then they can settle, or it can go on for the entire time that you are gone, and that's definitely a sign of separation anxiety. And escaping, sometimes you can interpret escaping as a dog trying to explore, to have fun, but it also can be a sign of stress because some dogs just have a panic attack when you leave and they want to go after you, and they will jump fence, they will jump through windows to get to you just because they cannot handle being left alone. So now we're going to talk about solving. If you think that your dog is suffering from separation anxiety, the good news is separation anxiety is treatable. However, it's important to point out that if you feel that your dog is having a panic attack, if you feel that your dog is actually suffering from separation anxiety, we do recommend seeking the help of a separation anxiety trainer. But if your dog is just frustrated of being alone, or if you're looking to try to help your dog feel comfortable when they're left alone, our rubber cone can help and can definitely be part of the solution. And we start working on that with counter conditioning. So the clinical condition for separation anxiety is when a dog does not tolerate being away from one specific person or people. Most other separation related problems can be solved with any person. So to help a dog change this feeling of anxiety of being alone, we start by desensitization, meaning we make them less sensitive to what makes them stress, which is being alone. And we work gradually with very short absence, and we then counter conditioning, which is pair that with something delicious that makes them feel good. So they create a positive association with it, you leaving and them getting something very good when they're left alone. And to lead that, I'm going to let our lead trainer, Mark Hines, show you the basics of preparing and introducing a Kong so that it can be used as a tool to help a dog feel good about being left alone at home.
Appreciate it. Anna, that was great information. And so the segment here, Kong Basics, and to help you to learn not only about what I do for stuffing for my dogs and how I can help them with separation issues, which I have a dog that has issues, but as to why. Why do we do this? Why is stuffing a Kong? How does it work? What are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to create a routine, a behavior that is going to maximize the effectiveness of how we use this toy as a tool to help with unwanted behaviors, in particular, separation anxiety. And so I love to, I think the best way into this is to tell you a little bit about my two dogs. So I have a German Shepherd named Ruger, and he has separation issues. I don't know if I'd call it separation anxiety. It's maybe not to that level, but it's certainly an issue when he doesn't get his Kong. And if he doesn't, he'll run out our doggy door in the morning when I leave for work and howl, which at 6 o'clock in the morning, that's not something my neighbors like. And then I have another dog named Kiowa, and she's a husky, about a 45-pound husky, and I call her my little husker. She has no issues. Most huskies are pretty independent, so but she loves her stuffed Kong. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk about two scenarios. So I in the morning, let's say on the first scenario, I get up, I go down in the kitchen, I grab my coffee, got to have my coffee in the morning. I'll grab a bite to eat, some toast, go downstairs, I turn on my TV or I'll get on my computer, and all this time, my dogs are watching me. They're not excited. They know Dad's trying to wake up and get going for the day, but they're keeping their eye on Dad because there's probably one of two things that's going to happen. So in this first scenario, I'm already in my mind, I'm taking them for a walk. And so just my body language, they don't really need much more than that. I can walk upstairs and go, do you want to go for a, and they can, as all of your dogs can fill in the blank. And if I reach for the leashes, or my German Shepherd, he has a vest, and then I grab some toys and they know I'm going out. They can't help but get excited. I have done that since they were puppies. And I'd say after the first week of getting a leash and getting ready to go, they cannot help themselves. That's what we call it. It's something of a conditioned response, classical conditioning. It is something that a routine has been developed and they can't help it. So that's one. Then the other scenario is I come down, I have a tri-level house. I come downstairs and I walk into my kitchen to grab my coffee, get a bite to eat, and then I check out my computer or TV. And now I know beforehand I'm going to work and I know I can't take them for a walk. And so before they even think about going for a walk, I walk upstairs, and again, they can already tell by my body language. Dogs read us better than we read them usually. And what I do is I just hold these two Kongs up, one for my little Husker and one for Ruger, my German Shepherd. And what happens when I put those up? They immediately both go down. They just go into a calm position. They're looking at me not like, oh, bummer, we can't go for a walk. They're looking at me with anticipation like, oh, today we're going to get stuffed Kongs. And so I have done this again over time, but it might take a week, half a dozen times to start to condition, to build this routine, this behavior. And so when I do that, it is the same, it's just opposite of grabbing the leash and them getting excited. I have a conditioned response that they get quiet. And I literally I stuff the Kongs and I put them on a counter, and then I let that anticipation build. And by the time I leave for work, they're like, Dad, go, please go. And so did I just bring on two Kongs and show it to them? And wow, they work. I think the Kongs are magic, but they're not that magical. So I actually had to develop that, and we're going to talk about that. But first, I'd like to go in we need for safety reasons. And also, again, I know my dogs, as I'm talking here, you have to think about what would be right for your dog. So we're going to talk about sizing, and we're going to talk about rubber strength. And so sizing, we're going to use our classic Kong. We have 6 different sizes. It is a custom fit for your dog. We have one that's for dogs extra small, for dogs up to 5 pounds, small dogs up to 20 pounds. We have our medium sized dogs up to 35 pounds. And then we have our large, 65 pounds and up or down. And then our extra large would be for up to 85, 90 pounds. And then our extra large would be our King Kong, our biggest. And that's for dogs that are very large, 90 pounds and up. And so what size is correct for you? We kind of help you with the weight accordingly of what we suggest, but I'll use 2 of my neighbors to help you better understand how to size for your dog. One would be, I have a Cocker Spaniel, one of my neighbors, and she's a little bit, actually she's a lot obese. But yet she uses this medium-sized Kong. She probably weighs 40 pounds, 35 to 40 pounds. And so that's right for her. And I'm going to mention her head size because she's kind of a small head and it's just right. Now, my other neighbor has Beasley, and he's about 10 months to a year. He's new and he's a pit bull. He could not be more fun. He's got more energy, I think, than just about any dog. And he just makes you laugh. He's so funny, but he is a big chewer. He's got a big head for a 35-pound dog. He weighs about the same as this Cocker Spaniel, and yet he uses an extra large extreme Kong. So on sizing, it varies and it depends. He also likes to chew way back in his mouth. And so he's much safer with a larger size. And so always err on the side of going up in size instead of making the mistake of getting a Kong for safety reasons too small. Now I mentioned that he uses the black. Well, what the colors that we have mean something. And so our black is our extreme, strong Kong. I use the extreme a lot with military and law enforcement dogs, Malinois, German Shepherds. They're big chewers and very, very strong. Don't make the mistake, though, of thinking that you should just get a black extreme Kong because it's the strongest one we have and it'll last longer. No, they all last a long time. You want to match the strength of the rubber to how your dog chews. So we need to look and learn about our dog's chewing temperament. So the black, and we have multiple sizes in that as well, but the red is our classic red. And so I would say 70% of all dogs could use the classic red. It's pretty hard to go wrong. That's why we have the 6 sizes. And it's not easy to crush, but it's just right for most dogs. And so again, classic. Then we have our puppy, and we have the blue and the pink. And this is soft and it's made for those puppy teeth, for dogs that are teething, dogs that, and this is really good to do when we'll talk about freezing Kongs, but just putting one in the refrigerator, whether you put something in it or not, or put it in the freezer and bring it out, really feels good on those puppies with their teeth. They're sensitive gums as they start to lose their teeth. And then we have our senior Kong, our purple one, and that is for dogs that maybe have some health issues. And when I think of that, it's very soft. It's a little softer actually than our puppy. And I think of a lot of dogs that have dental issues, like they're missing a lot of teeth, especially small dogs. And so we have the Kong there for that. Before I go on to how we stuff it, we have a little quiz question for you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. This one is more of a quiz than a poll, but don't worry about any wrong answers because we're going to go over it in just a few minutes. How can you entice a dog to be interested in a stuffed Kong? I'm going to go ahead and give you a few seconds to answer. All right, just a few more seconds. Go ahead and get those answers in. Awesome, thank you. And now back to Mark.
Okay, thank you, Kaylin. So as we start, this is the fun part. This is really fun. We have a lot of treats that, and you have to excuse me, use a lot of Kong treats. We have some wonderful treats that are actually made for the toy. But to start, as far as how and when we want to do this, there's two things. We want to get an association. You have a dog maybe with this separation anxiety. It deals with fear, stress, anxiety. And so what we want to do is have Kong introduced at quiet time, calm time. We want the association to be wonderful. We want it to be, I like to start with a dog where I'm watching TV or I'm on my computer, or I do a lot of phone calls where I'll just be on phone call. And I can watch and learn about my dog, how they chew. Some dogs chew, again, in the back of their mouth. Some dogs try and get in and they'll bounce them a little bit. We have dogs that just lick. And I actually have people call me up and they're like, my dog, I feel really bad. It's something wrong. They won't chew on the Kong. Some just use their tongue and they get in there and get it out. But we want the association to be calm, at least for a half a dozen times, I'd say, where nobody's getting the car keys, nobody's getting their coat. We're just pleasant time. And even maybe a little reinforcer of, oh, look at you. Not to get them excited at your dog, but to be like, yes, you're doing the right thing. And then also very, very important as we start to stuff things in here, that the dog has to win. This is a puzzle. Think about it as a puzzle. And what's fun about it is that we make it real easy at first and then start to make it a little bit harder and find out where our dogs are at with that puzzle. And so I have a table full of food here that I stuff in Kongs for my dogs. We have Kong-shaped snacks, and we have our jerky. We have new jerky mini bits. We have a really unique treat. This is actually a treat. It's called a marathon. And you just pop it on the top of the Kong and dogs work to get them off. I've had dogs go in testing maybe 50 dogs, and it ran from anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes to try and chew this off. My shepherd, German shepherd, eats it off in about 5 minutes. So I filled the Kong with either my wet canned dog food or other things. We also have our Ziggies that fit nicely, a little Kong shape there, and they'll go in different sizes for different toys. Then we also I have our peanut butter. Yes, most people know to put some peanut butter. We'll talk about how we do that, not just peanut butter, but some other things with it. We had a dog at work. She's no longer there, Zoe, but her owner, the person that owned her, used to take a piece of a banana and just stick it in a medium-sized Kong. I was always amazed. It took Zoe like 20 minutes to get out. My dogs don't like bananas, but that's for you to find out what your dogs like. My dogs love oranges. They love apples. So that's something really nice for them. And I'll put it in the freezer and freeze it and maybe put some other things in there. I'm mentioning the Kong treats because they do fit nicely with the Kongs, but you can use whatever you want to do that's healthy for dogs. You can Google and find out all sorts of things and find what works, which your dog will work the puzzle to get things out of the Kong. And so I have ways, I'm going to show you pretty quick here, of how I normally stuff when I leave for the day. And when I'm in a hurry, we're going to give you 3 different ways, an easy, a medium, and a hard way. And so that brings up freezing. And so what I have here is I have some plain Greek yogurt. I've got some pumpkin, good, 100% pumpkin's good. Sweet potato, you could use, I have green beans in a can, but I would do fresh green beans. Chicken, I take chicken with Greek yogurt, or I'll take fish and I cut it up, or I'll put little pieces of hot dogs in there. And then if it comes down to, it's a little bit gooey. So what I have here is a piece of American cheese, and I'll just plug the hole on the bottom, on the top of the Kong, or the bottom, turn it upside down, and I start to put all these goodies in there. And then I like to carry with me a little freezer. I put some ice in here, and my favorite of all is to have for both of my dogs frozen Kongs. And so when I do it an easy way, I like to put a time on it. So my easy way of stuffing a Kong would be literally for my dogs would be to take, I'll take peanut butter first. We'll take the peanut butter here. And I'm just going to do it for we're kind of on time restraint here. So I'm going to just put it in for my male shepherd. And then I'm going to take my finger and I would go around and put it under the lip of the Kong to make it harder for him to get out. And then I'm going to put a couple of these snacks in for him. Just a couple. And away I go. And that's about a 3 to 5 minute Kong. Maybe I should just real quick show you with my little husky something very important. What did I say? We have to do it at a quiet time, but we also, that when we're starting with it, but we also have to know that the dog has to win. So I have with my little husky, I would put the peanut butter in and I'd go under the lip with it. But if I just put this in, if I put it in whole, like we have with this, she'd never get it out. She's worked on Kongs for almost about 6 years. I still have to break these little treats up because she can't get it out. And if she can't get it out, well, for her, it might be bad because her brother, my German Shepherd, might come take her Kong if she can't get it. But more importantly, I want her to win. And just real brief on that, if she not as smart as my German Shepherd? No, she's every bit as smart, but dogs are a lot like people. Some people are good with languages and good with English, and others are good with math. And I think of my military and working dogs I work with, they're genius. But if they tried to do a service dog work, they couldn't do it. And service dogs, on the other hand, couldn't do the work that military and law enforcement. So we're stuffing these to have the dogs win. I call it winning with your dog. And we're stuffing it with the purpose of developing a habit, a routine that will help us with what? Separation anxiety, separation issues, separation problems. And so while I'm stuffing, and now I'm gonna, this is my main way. I gotta do this. This is the way I really love to stuff. I take just dry or canned dog food, and it's kind of dry. It's not real gooey. And I'll just fill up his Kong, and I'll put, depending on quite a bit, I may cut back on his kibble a little bit. Then I'll take some of these jerky bits and I put them in there. And then I take a snack. I might take some jerky treat, put that in there. And that's my 10 to 15 minute Kong. My frozen Kongs that I have that I took out of here are my 30 minutes to an hour. And so while I'm introducing a Kong, one of the neat things, and Anna touched on this and she'll follow up with some more tips, but one of the things that you can do as your dog starts to gain some confidence is watch how they're reacting to you and then maybe leave the room just for a bit. It's about having patience for your dogs. It's about baby steps as you're starting with issues like separation anxiety. And so you may use the bathroom. Again, I like to get on the phone and talk. And so, wow, that's a great way to start to introduce, as well as I leave my dogs with TV on. I leave my dogs sometimes with music. So that's what we would call white noise. It keeps dogs like my German Shepherd, who has some issues, that if he hears a sound, it won't be as dramatic if it was quiet in the house. And so it's a great way to introduce. And by the way, my different dogs have different food motivator. My German Shepherd, I could put rocks inside a Kong, and I think he would, before he even knew it, he would probably swallow several. He has a great appetite. My Husky, not so much. So with your dog, if your dog doesn't have that food motivation, don't be afraid to use hunger. In other words, maybe half a meal in the morning and then try the Kong, or maybe skip a meal. I know we can do that and it won't hurt them. Don't do it with your kitties, but dogs are wonderful. You can actually help the puzzle and help their enthusiasm to work on it by using hunger as our friend. So how many Kongs? We say 3 is key. It really is important to have more than one. Have one in the freezer, have one in the dishwasher. How do we clean them? And so I don't use the dishwasher, but if you do use the dishwasher, you certainly can. You could put it on the top shelf, but what I do is a real simple method. For me, I take the fork that I use for stuffing the Kong, and where it gets really dirty is up under the lip. So I just take the back of the fork and I can just go around and get just a big goop and wash that out. I just use dishwashing detergent. And then on the hole, usually there might be some of that, and I can just stick the fork in and twist it around. And that's the way I clean them. You can use a bucket and soak them for a little bit. I don't. My dogs clear out most everything that's in a Kong, but if you wanted to, you could certainly do that as well. They're very easy to clean. And this, even when they go in a dishwasher, it's handy to have that to go under that lip and get it out. Thank you very much, and I'll turn you back over to Anna.
So in this video, you can see, this is Marina Medeiros. She's a psychologist and a dog trainer, and she's working with Vittorio. And you're gonna see that Vittorio does not like to be left alone in the house, and he's gonna jump, he's whining, he's barking, and his bark escalate, and people leave. And Marina worked with him where we talk the desensitization and countering conditioning. So desensitizing by leaving him alone for a little bit of time, sometimes just for a second and come back, and gradually build him his strength for being alone. And you're gonna see here in the second video that she finally got to giving the dog a Kong, Victorio his Kong. She's gonna put in his bed. So she has developed a routine where he feels comfortable and safe on his little mat with his Kong, and now she can leave the house. And again, this is a dog that did have separation anxiety, a dog that she had to work on building a routine with him, making him respecting his ability to be alone and leave gradually, desensitizing him to leaving, and pairing that with something delicious with his Kong. And you can see that he's eating, he's okay, he's no longer barking or scratching on the door. So now we're gonna go over some tips I'm gonna share with you. So don't make a big deal about coming or going. So this is something very simple and so very important when helping a dog to feel less anxious about being left alone. So you're gonna say goodbye. You can say, see you later, alligator, and you just leave, and I'll give a Kong to your dog and you leave. And you're coming back the same way. You can come back. It's not that you're not going to acknowledge your dog. You can say, oh, you're here. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands. Everybody has to wash their hands. I'm gonna drink a little bit of water. I'm gonna check my phone. Let your dog settle a little bit, and then you can give lots of love to your dog. So if you do that, it's helping with that initial anxiety that they feel when you leave and when you come back home. Get a camera to allow the pet parent to communicate to your dog. So having a camera is a great thing. And I mentioned that at the beginning, that you can observe how your dog is behaving when you're not there. I actually have 2 cameras in my house, and my cameras do release treats from my dog. I actually have one camera in one corner of the house and another camera in another corner. So 1 hour before I'm leaving to go home, I start throwing treats, and they start running around and doing something, and it's very good. And actually I can observe them, how they feel, how they are doing. So it's very good. And you can talk to your dog. But again, with all these tools like Mark is talking, you have to know about the individual, the dog itself, because I talk to my dog in the camera, they never do anything. They might look, they hear the noise. So work with the dog while we work in these devices to know how they feel about it. So leaving dog TV, and I think that's great. I told Mark that I haven't tried, but I will. And Mark does use, our lead trainer, he does use that with his Ruger. He said that he loves it. He really enjoys watching his TV. But when Mark comes home, if there's a big horse on the TV, he's like, Dad, look at that. He's really interested on that. So I thought that was fun. But it can be used. Music, like Mark said, there's studies that show that classical music, soft rock music, and reggae might help a dog that's feeling anxious. Or white noise, like Mark mentioned, they give colors to noise: brown noise, white noise, pink noise. Those are noises that are around the house, fan noises, radio, that can mask the other sounds that the dog might not be comfortable. And these noises, you can actually search on the internet and find them online and try and test it with your dog and actually see, does he like classical music? Does he like reggae music? Which kind of music they like? And with the noises the same way, how do they feel when you put those noises on for them? Hiring a dog walker is a good tip as well, because your dog, when a dog goes out for a walk, it's like going to a lab, right? Dogs see the world with their nose, so they're going to smell and say, oh my God, this dog passing here, there's a person coming here. So they know everything that happened around them. So giving this opportunity to the dog is really good, because it's mentally stimulated. They go out, they're exploring, they're smelling everything, they go home, they're tired. So it's very important to give the opportunity for your dog to go for a walk. So if you're away for a long time during the day, if you can hire someone to come in the middle of the day and give that break for your dog. And remember, it doesn't need to be a long walk, but just going out there, they're going to smelling, they're going to be seeing the world, and they're going to get mental stimulation and get tired. And also, if you can consider socialization, which is very important for dog, leaving them in a daycare a few times during the week is also beneficial for them.
Okay, I have a question here. This question is for Anna. Question says, my daughter's dog has separation anxiety. How can she help him get ready for her to go back to the office on a regular basis?
Kaylin, this person said that her dog has separation anxiety.
Yep, she's asking for her daughter. Sounds like the daughter's preparing to get ready to go back to the office on a regular basis. What's like the first step they can take to try to prepare the dog for that?
Okay, so like I mentioned, and Mark did as well, it's very important to respect how long the dog can handle being alone. So I say first management. So if you can already think about ways that you can do not to leave the dog alone while you work with your dog. So get a friend, a neighbor, someone, a kid from high school that can be in your house, playing with the internet, having internet to play. So have a management plan so that you can make sure that the dog is not never left alone. So that can you work on that. And when you work with our Kong, you're going to work gradually with the dog. You're not going to just leave a Kong and go away. That's not going to work. You're going to give a dog a Kong and go to the door and then come back and don't go out for a few seconds and come back. As long as he's engaging, eat with the Kong, eat from the Kong, he's okay. If your dog is not want to eat, he cannot handle the Kong, you might consider having a professional help you out.
Awesome, thank you. I got another question here. This one is for Mark. It says, my 8-month-old Schnoodle has never been alone. Last week, we took him to 3 days of daycare and boarding to get him more socialized. How do we start to prepare him to be left alone at home?
Yeah, we get that question a lot, and it's kind of, I'd say, repetitive for what we would take the same steps that Anna just went through. You really do start to baby steps, have patience, and start to see and read where your dog is at. In other words, you have to judge. Every dog is different, just like people, and find out what that anxiety may be. Sometimes it's not that big of a deal. And so definitely start with building a habit, a routine with stuffing Kongs. And again, little baby steps, leave the room, go to the convenience store, come back, have somebody that can come in maybe and start to play with your dog. And also you go for walks and burn a lot of that energy. It helps so much. And it's a real, almost for every unwanted behavior, it's more walks, but it is true. And so it's not always what you do for your dog, it's what you do with your dog. So I like to take my dogs for a walk if I can, because they enjoy it so much. And then they're not as anxious. My German Shepherd and your little dog will not be as anxious if you can do lots of walks.
Great, thank you, Mark. Just want to encourage everyone to keep the questions coming. We'll try to get through as many as we can live, and any we don't get to, we will answer over email. So another question for Anna. My puppy gets frustrated and gives up using his Kong. Should I get him a bigger size?
He gets frustrated with the Kong and is looking for a bigger size. So there are two different things here. So one thing that I say, don't give up ever on the Kong. If you know the benefits of the Kong, is the first thing that when pet parents call me about anything, I always gear them towards the Kong, because the Kong is a very special toy. The process of eating from the Kong, taking the food out, is mentally stimulating for them. It satisfies a natural need and they feel good. And licking the Kong is soothing for them. So definitely don't give up on the Kong. If you work with a dog that is not interested, you just choose something delicious. like Mark said, work with anger when the dog is hungry, as a benefit to something that you can use. So he's hungry, he wants something to eat, put inside of a Kong, offer to your dog. Take the time to introduce them, to show them how to eat from the Kong. I always say you can have a small Kong that fits the size of the mouth of your dog, so it's safe for them to use. You can always go bigger if you want, because then you can stuff some more food inside, so it takes more longer for them to eat and take the food out.
Great, thank you. Another question for Mark. We have now had our rescue dog for 1 year, so he was rescued during the beginning of COVID, and he still demonstrates separation anxiety, but we have another dog who does not demonstrate this anxiety. We are worried that they will get into an argument over a Kong. What do you recommend?
Yeah, and that would be done. You must know your dogs, and you have to settle that before you leave your dogs with Kongs, because if there is going to be any aggression, that's just a no. You can't leave them together with it. Now, my German Shepherd is very aggressive, but my female is so she could care less. So if he comes and tries to take her Kong, she lets him. So I'm fine with leaving them both Kongs. But if I had a female that was saying, no, I'm going to guard my Kong, and then there was a fight that it would erupt, I want to know that before I ever leave my dogs alone with a Kong. This is all about learning, you picking up and learning what you have to realize too, that the higher the value of the treat, sometimes that can make more aggression as well. So if you bring down the value, in other words, a canned dog food or chicken or fish is going to be a very high value. Kibble in a mush may not cause that same aggression, but that's for you to learn.
Great, thank you. Another question for Anna. How long can dogs stay without the owner while the owner is working?
Depends. It's going to depend on each individual, and how you work. There are dogs that couldn't care less that you leave the house, right? They can be gone all day. They get a little bit anxious because it's going to leave, but they settle and they sleep all day. So for dogs that are sensitive of being left alone, you should know how long can you leave it. The best way to do it is recording, with a phone or a computer before you leave, and see how your dog is. And if he goes around pacing around, barks a little bit, demanding that you come back, that he wanted to go. How does he behave after that? Does he settle, or does his behavior continue? So understanding how long you can leave your dog alone, how long can he handle be left alone, is important for you to know before you can leave them alone.
Thank you. One more from Mark. This is a good question. How do you prevent your dog from gaining weight with stuffed Kongs?
Oh, thank you. I love that question. Because, yeah, sometimes when I talk to groups of people, they're like, gee, Mark, sounds like your dog must be obese because you love the Kong so much. That is controlled by your measuring what your dog's eating. If I'm giving a Kong, I usually do twice a day, sometimes once a day, a lot of times once a day, but I cut back on my kibble. But you have to be careful of not cutting back too far, because the kibble or canned dog food would have a balanced diet. You can feed strictly in Kongs. You can take kibble and canned and make it up and weigh out what you would normally give your dog to keep them a good weight, and then feed them 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day in a Kong. You can go up in size if you need a little more volume, or you can put some in a bowl and some in a Kong. But you do have to regulate. And on that question too, it's very important. There are dogs that have sensitive tummies. And so even with treats, certainly with food, when you switch food, you have to be careful because it can cause disruption of diet. Well, so can treats. And all of the things that I have here, I had to test in small amounts with my dogs to make sure that they were okay with them.
Great, thank you. Here's another one for Anna. What happens when the Kong is empty and you are gone for more than a couple of hours?
No, if you are working with your dog, and we do recommend starting making an easy Kong, just kibbles or dry treats on it, so the dog will learn to eat from a Kong, and then you start mixing, like Mark mentioned, with something dry, something pasty for the dog, and you eventually freeze it. So the dog will take 40 minutes to an hour to eat from a Kong, He should be very happy at the end of that, tired, because it takes a long time. It's a lot of licking. And again, licking is soothing for them. Your dog should rest. So there's not a problem about leaving the Kong that's empty with a dog after they are done. If you're thinking about, well, I'm giving the Kong and I wanted the Kong to have the duration of the time that I'm gone, leave 2 Kongs. And again, watch the diet, knowing what you're giving to your dog, or give other puzzle toys for them to play to take the food out if you wanted them to engage and do other things.
Great, thank you. Question for Mark. What do you use if your dog is not motivated by food?
Yeah, I try to find the highest value food that I know my dog likes. And I know that's hard sometimes. We have dogs, a lot of dogs that come to work at Kong, and some don't have a lot of motivation for that. Sometimes it helps before you would leave, or if you're trying it at home to see how they do. I like to spread something that's really good around the Kong, and as well as what's in the Kong. Sometimes if we can get a dog to start where it's real easy, just pick up a piece of chicken and sprinkle that around the Kong, you can sometimes stimulate that appetite and get them to work for it. And so also very important with a dog that does not have high food motivation, they have to win really early and often. You can't make the puzzle tough or they'll walk away. They don't hate the Kong, but they won't go near it because they're like, oh, I would want to, but I can't. I don't know how it works. And so very important to have the puzzle be quite easy.
Good to know. Anna, here's a question for you. Can you use Kongs unstuffed? I have a super chewer and the vet recommends the black Kong Extreme, but is it okay to give to her without stuffing it with food?
Yes, absolutely. That's why Joe Markham, the inventor of Kong, created for his dog Fritz, because he was chewing rocks and losing his teeth. So the focus was, the intention was to create something that a dog could chew on it full mouth to satisfy the need to chew on things, because dogs have this natural need to chew on things, and can definitely give it, you can play a game of fetch and you can let a dog chew it full mouth, but as Mark said, not with the molar, right? When a Kong is too small, it can fit in the mouth of the dog, and they can roll it to the back of the mouth and do this cross bite to call scissor bite. They can actually damage the Kong. So it's not this kind of chewing. We do have products. There are products in the market to satisfy the need of chewing with the molar, but full mouth it is a good thing to do. However, I do also recommend introducing as a feeder. I think that the great benefit of Kong, it is for a game of fetch and for satisfying chewing, but it's also for this process of taking the food out and licking to take the food out, because it does satisfy a natural need. It makes the dog feel good as well.
Great, thank you. Another question for Mark. Is it safe to put the Kong in the crate with my dog when I leave?
Yeah. So for safety reasons, it would be, you have to really know that what your dog's chewing behavior, chewing style, chewing temperament. We as a company recommend that you supervise with the Kong, but millions of dog owners, once they know that the Kong is safe with their dog, they leave, and sometimes they leave multiple Kongs in a crate. That can be helpful in a dog not focusing just on one. You can put 2 or 3. So yes, you can, but you have the responsibility to know who your dog is. You can't just put it in there and leave and say, okay, I'm good with it. You have to know. That's very important, especially with a crate, that you know how your dog is with that piece.
Great, thank you. Looks like we have time for one more question. I'm going to ask this one to Anna. How do you prepare a dog to be left at doggy daycare versus preparing them to be left alone at home?
Well, if you're taking your dog to a good daycare, there should be people that can guide you on their way, because there are steps that you can take. You might take your dog to the daycare and leave them just for a few minutes to adjust, to know what it is, and then he can go home. And every time they go there, every time they go to that space, it has to be fun, have to be a place that they go, okay, mom, you can go, I want to be here, I don't want to leave anymore. That's when you are happy to leave them. And most daycares do have dog trainers that know behavior and know how to do this introduction of dogs to be closer to other dogs if they have never been there. But it's very important. Socializing our dogs is a main thing that we should focus on doing, so that they can get along with everyone, that they can play with that, can have friends and spend energy playing with other dogs, and also give you sometimes of a dog away from you having fun and you feeling good that your dog is happy. So gradually introducing them, leaving them for a little bit, going home until you feel that's like, oh, I don't want to see you anymore. You can go. I'm having fun here. That's when you feel that your dog is ready to stay longer.
Awesome, great. Yeah, looks like we are unfortunately out of time. Like I said, we're going to do our best to get to all of your questions over email if we didn't answer them during this live Q&A. Just want to say thank you to everyone again for joining us. We hope you learned something. We hope that it was entertaining, and we hope to do another one in the future. So hopefully see you again soon on another virtual demo. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.